to the Cinephiles, everybody. We're the show where three, or in this case, two, again, movie lovers get to talk about all things film. Jamie's on her little sabbatical at the Olympics, having fun. You think she's watching movies?
Yeah, she is watching movies.
I bet she is too. Each episode, we highlight the new releases that we think you should see or not see because they're popular and maybe we don't like them. But we're going to dive into the films that we love, and we got a couple of really fascinating films. There's a great time in film right now. There's a lot of creativity. We're going to start with Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die.
There's some shit that's about to come down that I can't prepare you for. It's gonna try to give you everything you ever wanted. But in the end, it will all be a lie. Are any of you even listening to me?
All right, we found an absolute meta connection between all the movies we're going to review today. But if you'd be kind enough, Brian, try and describe to people what this one's about.
Yeah, so it's kind of like several episodes of Black Mirror wrapped into one feature. It's a little bit episodic, but basically it's about a time traveler who comes from a future where AI has sort of ruined humanity. He comes back to this diner and enlists several people to stop that AI from being invented. It's really kind of madcap and zany adventure where they're looking at what makes us human and how technology possibly diminishes that. So not only is this a very anti-AI movie, but it's also anti-cloning, anti-virtual reality, anti-cell phone. And it's framing up these stories in a really kind of high concept, out there comedy with a lot of really random kind of episodes throughout that feels like just a meditation on the relationship between technology and humanity in a very funny, accessible way that I think if you like Black Mirror but want it to be funnier, you would totally enjoy this. I loved it. I thought it was great fun, and Sam Rockwell is clearly having a blast. You never really know what's coming next. The imagery is really out there. I'm a big fan of Gore Verbinski. He directed the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, the first three. Mm-hmm. He directed a movie called Rango, which is an animated movie that I love.
Johnny Depp, yeah.
Yeah, very existential, and I think that's kind of very existential too. He hasn't made a movie for almost 10 years.
Yeah, he's been off. He's Dr. Dre'd it.
Yeah, he had a couple of bombs in a row. The Lone Ranger and
Rango came out about the same time, didn't they?
Rango was huge.
Yeah.
That did great, and that won the
Lone
Oscar.
Ranger. Yeah.
Lone Ranger though bombed, and so did The Cure for Wellness. Mm-hmm. And so he kind of took a break and came back with something. For being a Hollywood director, very anti-Hollywood, I think. And yeah, I love the spirit of this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun.
You can't guess what's happening.
Oh, totally.
You cannot. I mean, if you like those movies where you're like, I don't know where this is going at all, you won't. I think Sam Rockwell is singular. I mean, there is no one like Sam Rockwell in the arts, in the theater, in movies. He is in his zone, man.
Yeah.
He is so funny and good in this film. Loved it. If you're not into sci-fi though, and if you're not into like a slight little bit of horror, and if you're not okay with the anxiety of like a world that does not make sense, you might not like this movie. But if you're into creativity and if you like movies that have a statement on the threats that are in front of us all the time, right? But we don't really stop and think about it. This one will smack you in the face with a giant warning of how technology and greed are sucking at the souls of humanity.
And yet it never feels preachy though. It never feels like you're being, taught a lesson. You're kind of wrapped up in this, in what's going on and how zany it all is. I never felt like it was preaching, or maybe it's just because I'm, maybe it's because it's preaching to the choir and I am very anti-AI and I'm tired of seeing these, commercials shoving AI down my throat. And so this was a real refreshing statement against that. But I didn't feel like it was preaching. I was too wrapped up in kind of how everything was going from here to there and zigzagging around. And because it is episodic and sometimes they're doing flashbacks to other people's backstories, you never feel like you're given time to sit there and dwell on the message. I felt like I was pulled this way and that in a way that I really enjoyed.
It was so absurd. I mean, this is not a realistic movie. It's so absurd. It's very Terminator-ish with like a comedy.
Yeah.
It's like if Terminator was a comedy. It's kind of what it was like, and some kickbacks to like Ghostbusters and all that too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So what'd you think? What would you rate it?
I'd say see it. I get that this is kind of an out there movie and that people will maybe react, badly to it because it's a little too weird. But I think people who like a weird movie, or just like the message or like science fiction, will have a blast with it. So I'd say see it.
If I would say see it too, and if anything makes you think about the power of social media, the phone, the AI, all these things that are dehumanizing you without maybe you knowing it, see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving on. This next film, I didn't know what to expect because I came in cold. So when it was a film called Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, I thought it was a documentary about Nirvana. But I'm an idiot, and he's the professional, and I got schooled on this one. This is it. Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
We have the RV, deck it out like the DeLorean. God! So it's a full-time machine! Okay, watch this. Hold on to your butts! The time machine worked, and we are in 2008.
Oh my God. Matt, it's 2008.
I told you!
All right, so this is. Go ahead, Brian. You're so good at summarizing these things.
All right, so this is the latest from Matt Johnson. He's a Canadian filmmaker, kind of defiantly Canadian filmmaker, who is very well known in Canada, probably not well known in the U.S. The last movie he made was called Blackberry from 2023, a great little portrait of the rise and fall of blackberries.
I remember that, yeah.
Great movie. And he's made a couple of other movies as well. This is an outcropping of his show called Nirvana, the band, the show, that was started as a web series. Then it was on a channel called Vineland, which is no longer a channel in Canada. And so it's kind of a hard show to find now. You can find it online. And it follows Jay and Matt, Jay McCarroll and Matt Johnson here, who are playing real life or kind of fictionalized versions of their real life selves. And they have this band called Nirvana the Band, which is just kind of a goofy name to name your band, but they have no real songs, have never recorded anything, but they have this dream of performing at the Rivoli, which is this small little 200-seat venue in Toronto. This is their dream. And rather than just calling and saying, hey, let's, can we get a show at your venue?
Small venue.
Right. They try to create attention to themselves by these elaborate stunts. And elaborate stunts are very funny and very out there. And it's shot guerrilla style. So they're kind of going out on the streets of Toronto, almost like Borat or something, where they have a script.
Yep.
And they're following us, trying to hit certain points, but they're getting reactions, real reactions from people.
Yeah.
The plot goes in all kinds of directions when time travel is introduced, and they go back to 2008. And following this story is, again, being pulled very much like the last movie we talked about. You're being pulled in a lot of different directions. It's completely unpredictable, even though it's all very familiar. Like the Back to the Future references are in, many.
Uncanny.
And even though you can sit there and compare it to a million different movies, I feel like I've never seen anything quite like this.
Never.
Its energy is so fun. I was just rolling, laughing, watching this.
And you love them. They're lovable characters.
They're lovable characters. Matt Johnson is such a goofball. And you're watching this and you're wondering, how did they do that? Is this CGI?
Right.
Is this who was in on this joke and who wasn't? Did they get permits for this? And it's just, you can't believe what you're watching. It's so fun.
What did I say in the text? It's like Jackass and Curb Your Enthusiasm had a baby with
Trailer Park Boys.
Park Boys from Canada. It's Canadian dry humor, right? Slapstick humor, but it's mixed with cinematic Hollywood money. So some of the scenes are big, kind of like Jackass the movie, but it's set in this documentary style. So you as a viewer are left wondering, is this bad grandpa? Is this a prank on people?
Yeah.
Are we in on it as the audience? And then some of it's cinematic, like really good remakes of the Back to the Future DeLorean made as a bus, and down to the buttons and what they look like and the setting and everything. And they get the equivalent of Times Square in Toronto to look like 2008 again. And so it's very difficult to figure out. All the while, these are useful, creative idiots. Like everyone has a friend that is like insanely creative and they have an idea for everything all the time, but they rarely follow through or they don't take the path of least resistance. They don't take the easy path, the straight ahead arrow path. That's these guys. Instead of just going to try and get a show, they want to set off on this grand marketing tour to try and become super famous. It's like Pinky and the Brain.
That's a good comparison. And there's a hilarious moment that's very small where Jay, and he's kind of upset with Matt at some point, he decides to just call another club in Ottawa.
That's right.
And he gets a gig like right away. All he has to do is make a call. And the lady is just like, yeah, come on down. Like that's all they had to do. But it's so absurd that they're taking these great lengths.
Is it not though? A microcosm of the equation of life?
I mean,
you must take the road less traveled and you must seek these adventures because that's what ultimately your story becomes. It's not what you think. They don't even have a song.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't even have songs and they're a band that wants to play. They don't want that. They want journey and adventure.
And I think that's kind of, the by the end, there's this theme of friendship and just, it doesn't matter what you accomplish. It matters, it's all about the journey and the friends you make along the way and stuff. I thought it was a surprisingly tender message for a movie that could be thought of as just absurd and really out there and throwaway, but it proved pretty tender, I think.
Yeah, some movies thread the needle loosely or poorly. This one threads it perfectly.
Yeah.
It's a great dish. It has sprinkles of all these different elements, from documentarian style to heart to, like you said, philosophy, comedy, all the things. Love it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I'd say, even though it's a little obscure, I'd say don't miss it.
I'm a must-see guy too. I say don't miss it because your brain will thank us. Up next, Pillion.
Did you kiss?
I don't think that is any of your business.
Well, fair enough.
That's what they say when we're together. Look at the way.
How do you get a man like that?
I have an aptitude for devotion.
We gotta hide what we're doing. Watch how you play.
What's your secret?
You don't have to say.
I'll keep that in mind.
They don't understand, and so we're
I'm not sure I like the way you talk to my son.
Well, that is fine. It's not for you to like.
Excuse me?
think we're alone.
Ooh, okay. I'm in cold right now. I don't know anything about this film. You saw it.
Yeah, I saw it last night. It's the latest from A24. It's a first-time director, Harry Lighting, and it's an adaptation of a book, and it follows Harry Melling here, who you might recognize as Dudley from the Harry Potter.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
What
yeah.
else? Is there something else?
He's been in several movies. He was in Ballad of Buster Scruggs in a small role as kind of the armless, legless
Yeah. I
performer.
remember him from a couple of different films.
So he's grown up to be quite a good actor, and he's excellent here. This is by far his best performance. Also one of the greatest performances by Alexander Skarsgård.
It's incredible.
And Harry Melling plays a guy who's not been in many male relationships. He's a gay man, but he hasn't experimented at all. He's barely been on dates, and he's drawn to kind of a dom sub relationship with Alexander Skarsgård's character. And so Alexander Skarsgård is the dom, and Harry Melling plays the sub. And basically, it's a relationship about control, where Harry Melling's character gets pleasure from being submissive. And what the movie is about, and I guess trigger warning if you're averse to sex scenes or whatever. There's a lot of graphic sex in here, but I would say none of it is tasteless, and none of it is without a psychological underpinning. It's never just like a sex scene for a sex scene. It's you're very interested in the dynamic between them and how a person is being brought. I mean, it gets very graphic, but how a person is brought pleasure through a certain type of experience that maybe we're not used to seeing in movies.
That was the greatest, most specific and analytic graphic warning that you'll ever get for a movie.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
It's sort of warning, graphic kind of, because it makes sense, but it's not tasteful. And
I mean,
anyway,
some people
good
just
for the heads up.
there's a whole generation of people who don't think sex scenes should be in movies. I think every scene is necessary, and there's another dimension beyond what's going on in the sex in each scene. Ultimately, it's a movie about finding what you like. And how relationships are not necessarily like one and done, but you're gonna, it's like you're bouncing things off a wall, and you're gonna try things, and you're gonna find out, well, this particular relationship doesn't work for me because that dynamic was a little too this or that.
You're learning about yourself.
Right. Yeah. So it's about, what you like, what your limits are, what your non-negotiables are, and just kind of figuring out yourself through your first love.
I think that one clip that we just had at the end there says everything about this movie that you just said, and it makes me want to watch it. He's sitting at the dinner table with his mother, and she goes, "I don't like the way you're talking to my son," and he said, "It's not meant for you."
Yeah,
that is so big, man.
Yeah, that is such a great moment in the film.
That describes everything you just described about their relationship.
Yeah.
And it's so existential. I mean, to defy someone's mother in front of her on your behalf, that's deep.
Yeah. The performances are great. I thought the direction was very precise and just very intentional. I'm really excited for what this guy does next. But this was a great movie. I hope people keep it in mind kind of for next Oscar season, because I think Alexander Skarsgård could get like a nomination. So could Harry Melling.
He should get an Emmy for that skit he did on SNL.
Which
playing
one?
the dad who's about to go to he's about to go to like Red Robin for his birthday.
Okay.
But have you seen this?
I haven't. No.
But before they go, the mother is like sitting her 3 adult children down and saying, "I need to talk to you before we go. I feel like Donald Trump."
Oh, wait, I did see this.
May not. Anyway, instant classic. And he's in it. And he's the dad. And he goes, "I want my free scoop of ice cream."
I saw the skit where he was a girl, and he was like throwing other girls out the window. That was pretty funny. He's got a great sense of humor, actually. Like one of the first movies
he's good.
Was Zoolander. He was one of the male models in Zoolander.
Was he really?
It's so just if you
he's Tarzan.
If you Google Zoolander and Alexander Skarsgård, you're in for a treat.
I just had this magical moment with my children. They're not old enough to watch Zoolander yet because it's pretty heavy PG-13. It might even be R.
Yeah.
But I go, "You got to see this one clip," and it's Will Ferrell going, "Allow me to introduce my associate, Katinka Inga Bogovna." Right, that's her name?
Yeah.
And now my kids say that. Katinka Inga Bogovna. They don't even know what it's from yet. This is my dad moment, by the way. And I can't wait to show them that film. All right, we digress. What do you give Pillion?
I'd say see it.
It's a see it.
Yeah, it's solid acting. It's not going to be for everyone, but I think it's for if it all sounds interesting to you, check it out.
Real quick, fact check on it's an opinion check. That quote that was on the teaser said the most romantic film ever made.
It is like surprisingly, this is a very funny movie, which is something I probably should have mentioned. It's actually like uplifting and very endearing. I was surprisingly moved. I came out and like the first word that I could think of was cute. Oh, that was kind of a cute movie. Like surprisingly, despite it being about all these really intense dynamics, I think it's cute, it's romantic, and you come out feeling like what a nice love story.
Yeah, interesting. When does this one come out?
It comes out. It's open in some markets now, but it comes out, expands on the 13th and then the week after, so the 20th. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Hey, when we come back, we'll talk about the Cinegift that I gave out last time off Brian and Dan's recommendation advice, and how it all ties in somehow serendipitously to what we just talked about. Weird things are happening. Be right back. All right, we're back. We're talking about the Cinegift now. Last episode, the Cinegift that I gave out was one that I've actually never seen. And this is why I gave it out. It was almost like a self-homework assignment, a selfie. The film is Magnolia, and I got laughed at because I've never seen it. But this is what, a 1999?
Yep.
Paul Thomas Anderson really burst him onto the scene as a prolific filmmaker. and it was in my high school era. So I never got around to seeing like a lot of the great films of that era, because I was doing high school stuff. Anyway, I watched it, and before I give you my take, I would love to hear why you and Dan recommended it.
Sure. I can't speak for Dan, the producer, but for me, this was a movie that I did see in 1999, at the end of probably the greatest year in film history for me.
Matrix.
Yeah, I mean, so many great movies. The list could go on and on. But this was really like, you can do this in a movie. It's one of those moments where it's several stories all kind of wrapped around a central idea that maybe we're all connected, maybe it's all random. I think the main theme of the movie is just that you can't bottle up your emotions, and until you kind of let loose what you're bottling up and address what you need to address with people, you're not going to be happy. That's kind of the simplest version of the story that I can explain. But there's so much else going on in this movie. There's biographical aspects to Paul Thomas Anderson, Tom Cruise.
What's the biographical aspect to PTA?
So his dad 2 years before died of cancer, and his dad, Eugene Anderson, was actually like a voiceover guy. He did the America's Funniest Home Videos voiceover and Love Boat and Star Trek: The Next Generation, and he was into Hollywood and whatnot, and so Paul Thomas Anderson kind of grew up around that. And in fact, he was like a PA on a quiz show, and so he's kind of weaving all that stuff into it. Tom Cruise's dad also died of cancer and had kind of a moment where he couldn't reconcile with his dad, and PTA wrote that specifically for him.
Wow.
He wrote all of these parts specifically for actors. You're never going to see another movie like this, because PTA at the time in the 90s was huge. He had just released Hard 8, which was kind of a success, and then Boogie Nights, which was a huge success. And they gave him, New Line Cinema gave him Final Cut to do whatever he wanted, and a pretty big budget to do Final Cut with. And so he just kind of went off the rails, and even today admits that, like, I'd probably cut 20 minutes out. I went a little nuts on it. I don't know where you would cut 20 minutes out, because it feels like everything's connected in a very important way.
Even the first 5 minutes of the film takes you to a place that no film has ever taken you.
Yeah.
And I love when, and why is it so important now, right? So we're talking about Have Fun, Don't Die, right? And we're talking about these episodic films. Magnolia is episodic in the same way, where it's a series of strangers get connected in the end, very Seinfeldian, right? But in any time a film can discuss these deep philosophical ideas, like, is there such thing as serendipity? Is it just happenstance? Is there something greater connecting the fabric of all the events that happen in our little universes and lives? Right in the first 5 minutes of Magnolia, you go through a series of deaths and how they happen. And one of which is a kid dying by suicide by jumping off of a building, but then it was actually considered a homicide because his mom was shooting a gun at his dad at the exact same time and hit him as he was falling down. I mean, you can't make this. I mean, it's just unbelievable the way that it's edited. And after the first 5 minutes, and then you meet Tom Cruise, who has this wildly un-Tom Cruise speech that is so oppressive and ridiculous. And you're like, what is happening?
Yeah, this was an era where Tom Cruise was taking risk. He wasn't just an action star.
Eyes wide shut.
Yep, same year as this. Just incredible performance. He should have gotten an Oscar for this. It's one of his best performances. And again, it's kind of personal. Like, I think PTA wrote this as like kind of a dig on Scientology, maybe.
But that's weird, because that's his bag, wasn't it?
It was Tom Cruise's bag, and maybe Tom Cruise didn't realize it at the time. But I think later when
that's what it reminded me of too.
Yeah, PTA later made The Master, and that's very much a critique of these kind of religious institutions. But I think Tom Cruise is doing incredible work here. I think everybody's doing incredible work. What's so interesting about this is how there are so many disparate characters, but there's a momentum to this that just like pulls you through what's going on, and it feels like like you're watching a thriller,
He's
but
masterful at that.
it's like a melodrama, really. I mean, you're dealing with these very melodramatic kind of soap opera-y plots, and yet it feels like an urgent watch. And 3 hours, more than 3 hours, go by in a flash.
I think all of his movies do that.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a masterful build of tension. It's very hard to do. Very, very hard to do, and that's why he's so acclaimed.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, what's your Cinegift?
My Cinegift, we're going back to 1937.
You always do this to me. Let's go.
It's called Grand Illusion, one of the great movies ever made, I would say, maybe probably in my top 10. It's a French movie by Jean Renoir,
Okay.
son of the famous painter. And it's a film that takes place during World War I, but it's very much commenting on what's coming up in World War II. It's a POW story. You're going to see how Shawshank Redemption kind of ripped off from this movie.
Oh,
and I know
okay.
you're a big fan of that one.
Big
So
fan.
I thought this would be a fun one for you to look back and kind of see
37.
1937.
So this is pre-World War II.
Yeah.
And it's a POW story about World War I?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm excited. How
Yeah.
long does it run?
I think like 110 minutes.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Great. We'll look forward to that one. What's it called again?
Grand Illusion.
All right, watch it, and we'll circle back in 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
Where can I find you, bud?
I'm at deepfocusreview.com. You can also find me at patreon.com/deepfocusreview.com if you want to support my work. Otherwise, I'm on Letterboxd and Blue Sky.
Thanks for watching the Cinephiles. Get into movies. Absorb your life. Let's go.
Go to the theater. Escape from your daily reality.
Anything else?
We need that. No,
Yeah, we should go to the theaters more, by the way,
we should.
because we need to like communally absorb art. Get out of your house.
Yeah,
How's that for a goodbye, Chloe?
that is a goodbye. That is a good goodbye.
See you, everybody. Thanks for watching the Cinephiles.